Imagine being born into a world where your fate is already decided. A world where everything you can achieve has been predetermined before you take your first breath. Where dreams are a luxury reserved for the few, and the life of an ordinary person is cyclical, dull, and predictable. And then someone whispers to you, you can start over. You can become whoever you want. This is how America sounded to those who first heard of the distant new world. These words weren't empty promises, they were a challenge. Thousands accepted that challenge, selling their homes, tools, and last belongings, boarding ships that offered danger, the unknown, and the chance of a lifetime. The journey across the Atlantic lasted months. People faced disease, hunger, storms, and the cruelty of the sea. Half the travelers perished, losing their lives, hopes, and dreams. But those who arrived stepped onto a wild, untamed land. There were no roads, no towns, no markets, only dense forests, wild animals, and tribes unwilling to give up their land. And in these harsh conditions, the first form of the American dream was born. It wasn't about wealth. It was about freedom. The feeling that one's destiny was finally in their own hands. Every step, every sway of a wooden shelter in the wind, every night spent in the forest, where the sounds of nature replaced humanity, shaped a sense of control over life itself. America didn't promise an easy life. It offered a challenge. But within that challenge lay power, the first chance to be the author of one's own destiny. For the first time in history, a person realized that their life could depend solely on themselves. This idea was fragile and dangerous. It didn't protect from death, disease, or misfortune. But it gave what Europe never could, a chance. And this tiny, barely perceptible spark would, over centuries, grow into a symbol of an entire nation, the American dream.
America greeted settlers with harsh, untamed reality. It was not a paradise, it was a test filled with dangers and challenges. Dense forests, wild rivers, unknown diseases, and harsh winters demanded relentless effort. Yet within this harshness lay something Europe could never offer, the ability to shape one's own destiny. Every day was a struggle. People built homes from raw timber, cultivated crops in unfamiliar soil, and battled nature and unpredictable neighbors, native tribes who would not give up their land without a fight. Every small success brought an overwhelming sense of control over their future. For the first time, humans realized that life was in their hands, and this realization was stronger than any danger. America had no rigid system of rules. There were no nobles, kings, or predetermined roles. In Europe, birth dictated fate. In America, it was just the starting point. Settlers felt a strange mix of fear and freedom. Freedom that could be salvation or judgment. Every choice mattered. How to build a home, what crops to sow, where to hunt, who to ally with. One mistake could cost a life, but every success brought power over the future. Over time, a new psychology emerged, the psychology of creators. People ceased being mere inhabitants. They became architects of the land, and the harsher the conditions, the stronger their belief in themselves. From this emerged the central idea of the American dream. There are no barriers in front of you except those you place yourself. Yet, America was not empty. Conflicts with indigenous tribes, diseases, natural disasters, all tested human resilience. And yet it was in this chaos that strength emerged, the strength to fight, to build, to innovate. Human ingenuity and persistence began shaping settlements, communities, and rules, laying the groundwork for a future nation. Settlers understood. There were no guarantees, but there was possibility. The land was harsh, winters merciless, yet they saw before them a blank page, a place to write their own destiny. America was not yet a country, but it was already an idea, and that idea lived in every footstep on its soil. I can start over. I can build my life on my own terms. From this spark began the story that would, centuries later, become a global legend, the American dream, a symbol of human freedom and determination, inspiring millions around the world. By the mid-19th century, America was no longer a wilderness where survival depended solely on hands and willpower. It had become a land of opportunity, where anyone could attempt to rebuild their life. And then, like lightning striking clear skies, news arrived that would reshape the nation. Gold had been discovered in California. In January 1848, carpenter James Marshall lifted a small, glinting nugget from the ground. He did not yet know it would ignite the greatest gold rush in history. News spread like wildfire. People abandoned jobs, homes, and familiar lives, racing toward a mythical land where one stone could change a destiny. California became chaos. Thousands arrived with hope in their eyes, only to face cold rivers, grueling labor, scorching sun, hunger, disease, and the constant threat of violence. Each day was a trial. Yet the spark that the first settlers had ignited, the idea that human will can shape destiny, kept them moving. Irony defined the gold rush. Those who became wealthy were often not miners, but those who sold tools, food, and shelter. Many dreamers lost everything, while others profited from their ambitions. This was the first experience of the American dream as a mass phenomenon. It could inspire millions, even if most found no gold. Yet, the gold rush transformed the nation's psyche. People began to understand America was not just land of opportunity. It was a country where courage and risk could change fate. Small victories inspired thousands more, and even failures reshaped lives through experience. The gold rush gave rise to new cities, roads, and commerce. It showed that a nation could change rapidly if its people believed in the dream. And on this foundation, the key principle of American culture emerged. It is not only the outcome that matters, but the willingness to pursue your dream no matter the obstacles. America was no longer merely a land for survival. It became a country of risk, hope, and possibilities. This energy, the belief born from trials, would become the engine for industrial achievements, cultural breakthroughs, and global legends for generations to come. The formula for the American dream was now clear. If you dare to risk and fight, you can change your destiny. The gold rush was not just a story about wealth. It was a story about faith, resilience, and the power to start over. And that power would drive every future era of America. After the gold rush, America had become a nation where the dream of opportunity had changed the continent, not just individuals. But now came another force, a system that could turn the efforts of millions into reality. Thus began the Industrial Revolution, which reshaped not only the economy, but the character of a nation. Factories rose as if from the earth, yellow brick buildings, the roar of machines and steam billowing from chimneys symbolized the new America. Cities sprang up around them, with railroads connecting the east and west. People who had once searched for gold now worked on machines, bridges, and railways. Their labor was hard but tangible, both materially and socially. Railroads became the arteries of the nation, linking towns, transporting goods, people, and ideas. A once fragmented continent began to breathe,
move, and evolve. And with this movement came a new mentality. Success now depended not only on strength, but on creativity, organization, and vision. Yet the Industrial Revolution demanded a high price. Long hours, hazardous conditions, child labor, polluted air, and disease tested people's endurance. Still, through hardship and struggle, new possibilities emerged. Those who adapted and innovated were not just building their own lives, they were shaping the country's future. Amid this backdrop appeared figures who would forever change America. Edison, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Bell, Ford. They shared one vision, seeing the nation not as it was, but as it could become. They demonstrated that the dream had evolved into a collective, systemic process accessible not to a lucky few, but to anyone willing to act. The Industrial Revolution transformed the American dream. No longer merely survival or wealth, it became the dream to create something that outlives you. America had learned to generate opportunities, turning human effort into progress. Even as factory chimneys blackened the skies, people felt the power of the new era. Every hammer strike, every roar of the steam engine signaled that humans could shape the future with their own hands. America was no longer just a land of opportunity. It was a land where dreams worked, where belief and labor could change destiny. The Industrial Revolution provided tools, technology, and a language of progress. But most importantly, it showed that dreams become real through effort, organization, and perseverance. This lesson would underpin the next era, cultural ascendancy and global influence, epitomized by Hollywood.
America had changed. Factories and railroads had built material wealth. The Industrial Revolution proved that labor and intellect could shape the future. But what about a dream that no longer sought survival or wealth, but wanted to live in the hearts of millions? The answer came from the West Coast, a small, sun-drenched town destined to become the nation's symbol, Hollywood. In the early 20th century, Hollywood was nearly empty. A few studios, narrow roads, sun and wind. Yet here arose a force capable of making the dream global. Film learned to show not what is, but what could be. Millions believed, if the hero on screen achieved the impossible, then so could I. Hollywood reinvented America. A poor girl could become a legend. An ordinary boy could become a hero. The idea that anyone could shape their destiny came to life in vivid stories. People craved more than wealth. They craved the belief that their life could matter. Yet Hollywood was ruthless. For every star, thousands failed. Competition, rejection, despair, all part of the path. This contrast made the dream compelling. It was unattainable, yet reachable for those who persevered. Film turned dreams into an emotional experience. Labor, risk, courage, all came alive on screen, inspiring millions across the country and the world. Hollywood made the dream not local, but global, transforming the land of opportunity into a symbol of human aspiration. But illusion became a commodity. People wanted not just opportunity, but the feeling that anything was possible. This illusion drove culture, economy, and lifestyle, but also built resilience. Those who acted could seize their chance. Hollywood became America's mirror, bright, enticing, yet harsh. It revealed dreams and the price to achieve them. Here, stories and culture turned an idea into a powerful engine inspiring millions. America became more than a country. It became an idea, a myth, a global symbol. In this myth, anyone could see themselves, their journey, and their chance. The new meaning of the American dream emerged. It's not just work and risk that make you successful. Your story, choices, and actions can change everything.
Hollywood taught the nation to tell its stories. These stories became inspiration, opportunity, and a shining symbol of what was possible. Dreams no longer merely lived, they shone on screens worldwide.
After World War II, America entered an era of unprecedented growth. A nation that had endured wars, crises, and industrial expansion finally felt the dream was tangible, something that could be grasped. Mass housing, cars, new schools, accessible education, all material proof of the idea born centuries earlier on the wild shores of America. Your destiny depends on your courage and determination. The dream became measurable. A home, a job, a family, a better future for children. For the first time, millions felt that opportunity was within reach, not just for the lucky few. Seeing tangible results strengthened belief in oneself. Yet with prosperity came new challenges. Inequality became visible. Competition intensified. Social barriers resurfaced in new forms. The dream was no longer guaranteed. It was a test, requiring perseverance, creativity, and courage. And this is what made it alive. It demanded effort, but rewarded those who acted. By the mid-20th century, the American dream transformed. No longer solely about money or property, it became freedom of choice, the ability to shape life on one's terms, explore new paths, and pursue ideas rather than mere wealth. Technology, the internet, and globalization opened new horizons, increasing both competition and opportunity. The dream became abstract, yet accessible to those willing to learn, risk, and act. Today, the American dream lives in action, decisions, and the courage to try. It exists in anyone ready to start anew, change themselves, and impact the world. It doesn't promise wealth or fame. It gives the right to try, the chance to author one's story. This is its true power. It belongs to anyone willing to act, regardless of circumstances. The American dream is no longer just American. It is a global symbol of freedom, opportunity, and self-belief. People worldwide are inspired by a country that built cities, industry, culture, and myths from nothing. It proves opportunity belongs not to the chosen few, but to those who move forward despite obstacles. In conclusion, the American dream is alive, not as a promise of wealth, not as a guarantee of success, but as an idea that moves millions. It lives in everyone who chooses to act, who believes that effort, courage, and determination can change destiny. America made it a national symbol, but truly, it belongs to anyone willing to try. And that is its greatest power. It lives in us, in our actions, choices, and pursuit of the impossible. The dream never dies. It merely waits for those brave enough to act.